The storm had just begun to break when Lily stood alone, beneath the flickering lights of the old church. Her white dress, once perfect, now soaked and torn, clung to her trembling body. The bouquet in her hands had lost its shape, petals scattered like broken promises across the marble floor. Outside, the limousine waited with its door wide open, but her groom, her husband, was gone. No note, no call, only silence and the echo of his name, Ethan. She stood there for hours, watching the rain wash away the chalk hearts their friends had drawn on the steps. Her veil fluttered in the wind like a flag of surrender. Somewhere between disbelief and heartbreak, she whispered, "He promised me forever." But forever had lasted only one night. Before we dive deeper, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? It amazes me how far a single story can travel. Drop your city. Let's see how wide kindness still spreads. The next morning, the church was empty except for the faint scent of lilies and the sound of sweeping. Lily sat in the last pew, clutching the marriage certificate like it might still mean something. Her mother's soft voice broke through the quiet. "Sweetheart, let's go home." Lily didn't move. "He wouldn't just leave," she said. "He wouldn't." Her mother hesitated. Sometimes people change when fear takes over. Maybe something scared him, but what could possibly scare Ethan? The man who once stood in front of hundreds to declare she was his reason to breathe. She finally rose, her heels echoing through the empty aisle. As they stepped outside, a black car rolled up the hill, sleek, expensive, out of place in their small town. A man stepped out, tall, with silver cufflinks that caught the weak sunlight. His presence carried weight, the kind that made people lower their voices. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his tone clipped but polite. Lily blinked. "That's me," she managed. He looked at her closely. "Mr. Ethan Carter left something for you." Her breath caught. He's alive." The man didn't answer. Instead, he handed her a sealed envelope stamped with a symbol, a golden crest she didn't recognize, and a name embossed below it, Michael Hargrove. She tore it open. Inside was a single line written in Ethan's handwriting. "Don't look for me. Don't trust him." The man noticed the color drain from her face. "Mr. Hargrove sends his regards," he said, before returning to the car and driving off into the fog. Lily clutched the note to her chest. Ethan was alive, but afraid. Of who? Of Michael Hargrove, a billionaire known for owning half the city's skyline, and rumor had it, the rest of its secrets. That night, she couldn't sleep. The house felt colder without him. Every photograph on the wall mocked her. She replayed his last words before the ceremony. "No matter what happens, trust me," until dawn broke again, when the police came. They found no trace of Ethan. His phone was disconnected, his bank accounts frozen, and his apartment, once filled with warmth, looked like it had been emptied overnight. A detective leaned forward, sympathy heavy in his eyes. "Did your husband ever mention Mr. Hargrove before?" Lily shook her head. "No, but I think Ethan worked for him years ago. Something in finance." The detective nodded. "That explains it. Hargrove's name keeps coming up in missing person cases tied to his companies. But there's never enough to stick." Lily's hands trembled. "You think he sighed?" "We can't say yet. But if I were you, I'd be careful." She looked out the window, where the rain had returned, soft, relentless, and gray. The city felt different now. Every stranger's face seemed to carry a hidden story. Every shadow felt like it watched her back. That night, she returned to the church steps, hoping for some sign, anything. Instead, a sleek black car stopped again. The window rolled down, and there he was, Michael Hargrove. He looked younger than she imagined, dressed in a dark coat, eyes sharp as glass. "Double quotes, Mrs. Carter," he said, smiling faintly. "May I offer you a ride?" Her voice faltered. "Do I know you?" "Bo," he said smoothly. "You will." Her heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to run, but curiosity held her there. Maybe this was the only way to find Ethan. Maybe the man her husband feared was the key to finding him. She took a step closer to the car. "If you were there in that moment, what would you have done? Be honest. Comment your answer below. And if words fail you, just hit like to prove that compassion still matters." Lily hesitated, her reflection trembling in the rain-slicked window of Michael's car. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "Don't." but curiosity, fear, and desperate love braided into something reckless. She opened the door and slid inside. The scent of leather and expensive cologne filled the air. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, the kind that made silence feel dangerous. Michael watched her with calm, unreadable eyes. "You loved him," he said, not as a question. Lily swallowed hard. "He's my husband." He nodded slightly. "And yet, he left you." Her voice cracked. "You know something. Tell me." Michael turned his gaze to the road. "What I know could ruin you, Mrs. Carter, or save you. Depends on how much truth you can handle." The city lights flashed across her face, gold, red, silver, as if testing her resolve. "Try me," she whispered. He smiled faintly, the kind that never reached his eyes. "Ethan was in debt. Not to me, but to someone worse. He thought disappearing would save you." She froze. "Debt, Ethan never." "Oh, he hid it well. He was a proud man. Worked 2 jobs under my company's umbrella. Finance during the day, something darker at night." Her breath hitched. "What do you mean by darker?" Michael's expression softened, almost with pity. "Sometimes the good ones get trapped by the world's dirt. Your husband tried to play hero in a game where heroes don't win. He stopped the car outside a towering glass building, his headquarters, its lights piercing the fog like a crown of power. Why bring me here?" she asked, gripping her purse tight. "Because Ethan made a deal he couldn't keep," he said. "And you, Mrs. Carter, are now part of that deal." Before she could speak, 2 men in black coats opened the doors. She was ushered inside, into a marble lobby that smelled of cold ambition. Michael walked beside her, his hand hovering close to her back, not quite touching. "You wanted to find him?" She nodded, voice trembling. "More than anything, then you'll have to step into his world." The elevator doors closed behind them, sealing her fate with a soft hiss. The office on the top floor looked more like a penthouse than a workplace. Glass walls, city skyline, and silence thick enough to crush a heart. Michael poured 2 glasses of whiskey and offered her one. "I don't drink," she said quietly. "Tonight, you might need to," he murmured. He studied her for a moment, then said, "Do you believe love can make someone disappear?" She blinked at him, lost. "Love doesn't make people vanish. Fear does." Michael tilted his head, impressed. "Smart answer. Your husband thought the same." He turned toward the window, voice lowering. "Ethan loved you enough to cross a line for your safety. He got involved in laundering money meant to cover another man's crime. That man ran, and Ethan took the fall." Tears gathered in her eyes. "You're lying. Ethan isn't that man." Michael met her gaze. "Then tell me, why did he use my name to cover the transaction?" The words hit her like a physical blow. "What?" He handed her a folder. Inside, photographs, bank statements, signatures. "Ethan's. He forged my authorization for a transfer worth $7 million. That's not love, Mrs. Carter. That's betrayal." Her voice broke. "He must have had a reason." "Oh, he did," Michael interrupted softly. "He said he'd return it once he could. But you know what happens to people who promise billionaires things they can't deliver." She could barely breathe. "You're saying you hurt him?" Michael's gaze hardened. "I didn't need to. The world did it for me." Her knees weakened. The city blurred behind her tears. Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You have 2 choices. Walk away and live in the dark forever, or help me find the truth about where he really went." She whispered, "And what do you get?" He smiled. "Peace of mind." The lights flickered slightly, reflecting off his cufflinks, the same ones as the messenger's. For a moment, Lily saw something in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or loneliness masquerading as control. She stared at the photo again, Ethan, smiling, unaware that his name would someday haunt her. "Have you ever had someone help you when no one else would? Write yes and tell me their name. Maybe gratitude can travel further than we think." The elevator descended again hours later, but Lily wasn't the same woman who'd walked in. Her world had cracked open. She had Ethan's note in her pocket and Michael's deal in her head. As she stepped out into the night, the city seemed to breathe around her, neon lights blinking like restless eyes, the hum of taxis echoing through wet streets. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message: "They're watching you. Don't trust him. Meet me where it began." Her heart stopped. It was Ethan. Lily froze under the streetlight, the message burning into her eyes. The world seemed to fall silent. Even the rain held its breath. She read the words again just to make sure she wasn't dreaming. They're watching you. Don't trust him. Meet me where it began. Her pulse raced. Where it began. The only place that made sense was the pier, where Ethan had first proposed. The memory was sharp, the sound of waves, the laughter, the ring trembling in his nervous hands. She slipped her phone into her pocket and started walking. Every step echoed with fear and hope braided tight. The city stretched out before her, empty streets glowing orange under flickering lamps. Her heels clicked against the pavement, quickening with every gust of wind. When she reached the pier, the air smelled of salt and rust. The boards creaked beneath her as if whispering warnings. She scanned the shadows, nothing but the endless dark horizon. Then, from behind a weathered column, a figure stepped forward. Soaked, shivering, unshaven, but unmistakable. Ethan. Her voice broke. He looked at her like a man seeing light for the first time after years underground. Lily, you shouldn't have come. She ran into his arms, the cold forgotten. You left me. Why? He held her, trembling. Because I thought he'd hurt you if I didn't. She pulled back, searching his face. Michael. Ethan nodded slowly. He's not who he says he is. I tried to expose what he was doing, offshore accounts, illegal trades, stolen charity funds. But he found out. The only way to keep you safe was to disappear. Lily's heart pounded. Then why did you send me that note? Don't trust him. Because he'll make you think I betrayed you, Ethan said bitterly. He's good at that. He twists truth until it sounds holy. She stared at him, her mind spinning. He showed me papers, your signature, the money. Ethan's jaw tightened. Forged. He's done it before. That's his game. The wind howled, rattling the pier's railings. Somewhere far off, sirens wailed, distant, fading. Lily whispered, "We can go to the police." He shook his head. They're his. He owns everything, even the truth. Her throat ached. Then what do we do? He looked at her with eyes that had forgotten sleep. We run. The word hung in the air, heavy, impossible, electric. Before she could answer, headlights flared from the far end of the pier. A car, black, familiar. Ethan's hand tightened around hers. Too late. She turned and saw Michael stepping out, coat billowing in the wind. Eyes locked on them. So it's true, Michael said quietly. You couldn't resist, could you? Ethan moved in front of Lily. Leave her out of this. Michael smiled faintly. I offered her safety. She chose danger. That's love for you, beautifully irrational. His men stepped closer, shadows blending with the mist. Lily's voice trembled. Why are you doing this? What do you want from us? Michael's expression flickered, a flash of something almost human. I want the truth. I want to know why he stole from me and blamed me for his sins. Ethan stepped forward. You think I took your money? You think I'd risk her life for that? People do strange things for love, Michael said. Or fear. Lily looked between them, her heart breaking in the middle of their war. Stop it, both of you. You're destroying everything. For a moment, silence fell, only the sound of waves slapping against the pier's pillars. Then Ethan said softly, you don't have to believe me. Just remember who you married. He squeezed her hand once before whispering, run. And before she could protest, he turned toward Michael, straight into danger. Lily screamed his name as the night shattered with shouting and the roar of engines. She stumbled back, blinded by tears, until someone grabbed her from behind. A gloved hand covering her mouth. Quiet. A voice hissed, if you want him alive. She froze. The man shoved her toward the car, and as she looked back one last time, Ethan's figure disappeared into the chaos. Her tears fell silently against the tinted window as the car drove her away from the pier. Now it's your turn. Share one small good thing you did recently. Write it below so others remember that humanity still lives. Your story might light someone's path tonight. Hours later, she found herself in a dimly lit room she didn't recognize. Her wrists were free, but her heart felt shackled. A single camera blinked red in the corner. A voice came through the intercom, smooth, familiar. Mrs. Carter, you wanted the truth. Let's begin. Asterisk. The voice echoed around the room, soft but chilling. Lily turned, scanning the corners for a hidden speaker. Michael, she whispered. Yes, came the reply. You've been chasing ghosts. Mrs. Carter, it's time you saw who your husband really is. A screen flickered to life on the wall, static first, then a grainy video. Ethan sat in a chair, head in his hands, inside a room much like hers. He looked exhausted. Broken, please, he said to someone off camera. You don't understand. I didn't steal it. I was trying to return what your men took. A familiar voice replied. Michael's, calm, controlled. You used my name. You signed my authorization. I was framed, Ethan pleaded. The real thief. The sound cut off. The video froze on Ethan's terrified face. Lily felt the air leave her lungs. Why are you showing me this? To remind you, Michael said, that truth wears many faces. The door unlocked with a soft click. Michael entered, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. You love him still, he said. Of course I do, she spat. He's my husband, he nodded slowly. Then you deserve to know everything. Ethan wasn't the victim you think he was, Lily's voice cracked. Stop lying to me. He placed a file on the table and slid it toward her. Inside, photographs, bank transfers, and a note written in Ethan's handwriting. If something happens, tell Lily to run. Her breath caught. What is this? Insurance, Michael said. He made a deal with one of my competitors. Offered them access to my accounts in exchange for freedom. You were the leverage. That's why they targeted you. Lily's hands trembled as she turned each page. Every word cut deeper than the last. Could it be true? Could Ethan have sold her safety to save himself? Her voice softened. You expect me to believe that? That the man who proposed to me on a broken pier would? Michael interrupted gently. Love makes people do desperate things, even betray the ones they swear to protect. She looked up, eyes red, voice shaking. Why are you telling me this? To break me? He hesitated, just for a second, then said, because I see something in you I lost a long time ago. You still believe people can be good. Silence hung between them. Lily studied him, the lines in his face, the weariness behind his charm. And you don't. He looked away. Not anymore. For the first time, she saw him differently, not as a villain, but as a man built out of scars. The rain began again outside, tapping against the glass walls. It sounded almost like applause from a cruel world. Michael turned to leave, but paused at the door. Rest, Mrs. Carter. Tomorrow, I'll show you where Ethan's choices truly led. When he was gone, Lily sat alone, staring at the papers. The handwriting was undeniably Ethan's, but her heart whispered that something was wrong. He had written that note to protect her, not condemn himself. She pressed her forehead against the cold glass. Outside, the city was a blur of lights and lies. Ethan, she whispered, what did you get us into? Suddenly, the camera in the corner blinked twice, then turned off. Her heart stopped. Someone was watching. Someone other than Michael. A folded piece of paper slid under the door. She froze before crawling toward it, hands shaking. It read, trust no one. Wait for the blackout. She gasped softly. The handwriting was Ethan's. Her chest tightened. He was alive and close. Downstairs, in a control room filled with monitors. Michael watched her reaction in silence. His assistant approached cautiously. She's seen the note, the man said. Michael didn't respond. His gaze lingered on Lily's face, the pain, the hope. Something in it fractured him quietly. Sir, the assistant pressed. Should we continue with the plan? Michael turned slowly, his voice low. No, not yet. He looked back at the screen, his jaw tightening. I want to see if she'll still believe in him after the blackout. The assistant frowned. You think she'll choose him? Michael's eyes softened. I think she'll choose love. And that's exactly what makes her dangerous. If that moment hit you hard, leave A. Sometimes one little symbol says what our hearts can't. The next evening, as the city lights flickered from the storm outside, Lily stood by the window, waiting. Midnight. The moment of blackout came like a heartbeat, sudden, silent, absolute. And in that darkness, the door creaked open. Lily whispered a voice she'd know anywhere. It's me. Her breath caught before she could even turn around. The sound of his voice, raw, quiet, trembling, broke her open from the inside. She spun toward him, and there he was, framed by a sliver of moonlight sneaking through the glass. Ethan, he looked thinner, haunted, but alive. His clothes were damp, his eyes wild, and yet, they softened the moment they found hers. She whispered, "You came back." "I never left," he murmured, stepping closer. "They kept me here, watching, waiting for you to believe them." Tears welled up, spilling freely as she reached out to touch his face. Her fingertips brushed against the scruff on his jaw, real, warm, alive. "I thought you were gone forever." He cupped her cheek, thumb tracing away her tears. "I wanted to come sooner, but Michael, he has everything wired. He wanted to turn you against me." "Did he show you the files?" Lily nodded, trembling. "He said you betrayed him, that you took something from him." Ethan laughed bitterly under his breath. "The only thing I ever took from Michael Hargrove was his plan and his secret." Her pulse quickened. "What secret?" He leaned in closer, voice low. "He's been moving stolen charity funds into ghost accounts. I found the trail while working for him. Children's hospitals, disaster relief, all fake fronts. When I tried to stop it, he made me disappear." Lily clutched his hands. "Then let's leave, right now." Before a click echoed in the darkness. A door unlocking. Ethan froze. "He knows." The lights flickered back to life, flooding the room in white. Michael stood at the threshold, calm, composed, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "Well," he said softly, "love does make the brave foolish." Ethan moved instinctively, shielding Lily behind him. "You've got what you wanted, Hargrove. Let her go." Michael's gaze slid to Lily. "You still think he's your savior, don't you?" She met his eyes, fierce despite her fear. "I think you're afraid of what he knows." Michael smiled faintly. "Afraid? No. I'm fascinated." He took a slow step closer. "You see, I didn't bring you here to punish him. I brought you here to test." "You?" Ethan frowned. What are you talking about?" Michael's tone was almost gentle. "She had every reason to hate you, every piece of proof screaming you were a liar. Yet she still waited, still believed." He paused, eyes glinting with something human. "Do you have any idea what that kind of faith costs?" Lily didn't answer. She couldn't. Michael exhaled, stepping closer until he was just feet away. "When my wife died 5 years ago, I thought love was a myth, a trick the weak told themselves. But watching you two," he shook his head slightly, "it almost makes me wish I'd been wrong." For a fleeting second, Lily saw a man behind the monster, broken, hollow, lonely. But Ethan's voice hardened. "You don't get to use your grief as an excuse for what you've done." Michael's eyes flicked toward him, icy again. "Maybe not, but I can choose how this ends." He pulled a small device from his pocket, a phone. One button glowed red. "I can destroy every file, every name, every piece of evidence tying me to those accounts. Or," he looked at Lily, "you can walk away with him and live in peace. I'll vanish. The world will never know." Lily's heart pounded. "You'd let him go?" Michael's expression softened. "If you promise to disappear, together." Ethan clenched his jaw. "You'll keep stealing, keep hurting people." Michael tilted his head. "Perhaps. Or perhaps I'll finally stop." Lily's voice shook. "You're asking me to choose between justice and the man I love." Michael's silence was answer enough. Ethan turned to her. "Lily, whatever happens, I want you to live. Don't let me be your cage." Her tears fell faster now. "You are not my cage, Ethan. You're my reason." The tension filled the room, like thunder about to break. The world felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for her choice. "Be honest, could you forgive after what they did?" Type forgive if you could, or never if it would break you too deeply. Then, suddenly, alarms blared. The building lights dimmed again, but this time it wasn't a blackout. The monitors across the walls flashed one word: leak detected. Michael's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Ethan's faint smile returned. "You thought I came back to run." He held up a flash drive. "I came to end it." Asterisk for a second. Time itself seemed to stop. The shrill alarms screamed through the marble halls, lights flickering red as panic rippled through the building. Michael's composure cracked for the first time, his calm mask slipping into disbelief. What have you done?" he demanded, voice trembling with restrained fury. Ethan's hand was steady despite the chaos around him. Every transaction you ever buried is being uploaded right now. Offshore accounts, shell companies, everything. I sent it to every major news outlet and the police. Michael's face hardened. You think you can destroy me with a few files? Ethan's eyes narrowed. No, Michael. I think you destroyed yourself the moment you used good people to build your empire. The power surged. The monitors flashing with lines of data, names, amounts, and signatures racing across screens. Lily stood frozen between them, tears glinting in the flashing red light. Michael took a step forward. You have no idea what this will cause. You're condemning thousands of people who work under me, innocent people who depend on that company. Ethan shook his head. You don't get to weaponize their innocence anymore. Not after what you've done. Michael's jaw clenched, his voice lowering to a near whisper. You think you're saving the world. You're just making it bleed slower. Lily stepped between them. Stop it. Both of you, look at what this has become. Lies, revenge, fear. You've both lost everything that ever mattered. Michael's gaze flicked toward her. Not anger this time, but something like sorrow. You still don't understand. There's no such thing as redemption in this world, Lily, only survival. Her voice trembled but held its ground. Then I'll survive by believing, even if it breaks me. For a moment, silence, just the hum of the failing lights and the faint sound of sirens growing closer outside. Michael stared at her as if memorizing her face. The woman who still carried light while standing in his ruin. I once thought love was weakness, he said softly, but looking at you, maybe it's the only thing that makes people strong. He turned toward Ethan. Take her. Go, before my men arrive. Ethan blinked, stunned. You're letting us go. Michael's faint, tired smile said everything. I've lost already. He turned to his desk and entered a command on his tablet. The monitors blinked, data erasing in waves, but it was too late. The leak had already escaped his reach. Ethan grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her toward the door. Come on. She hesitated, glancing back once. Michael. He didn't look up. Tell the world I was wrong, he said. That'll be punishment enough. Then the security doors burst open, and the building filled with shouts. Ethan and Lily sprinted down the corridor, their shadows stretching long against the flashing lights. The city awaited them outside, rain falling hard, cold, endless. They ran until their lungs burned. Finally ducking beneath an old stone bridge where the world was quiet again, Lily clung to Ethan, heart pounding against his chest. It's over, she whispered. He nodded slowly. Almost. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the flash drive, cracked from the struggle but still glowing faintly blue. This is everything, he said. Once the police decrypt it, Hargreaves' empire will collapse. She touched his hand gently. And us, he looked at her, the exhaustion, the guilt, the love all colliding behind his eyes. We'll start over, somewhere no one knows our names. She smiled faintly through tears. Maybe love isn't about what survives the storm. Maybe it's about who you're willing to stand with while it rages. He held her close, pressing his forehead to hers. Then let's weather it together. The rain softened, turning to a quiet drizzle. Somewhere in the distance, sirens faded into the hum of a new dawn. If you believe love still wins, comment amen. Let's fill this section with hope. Maybe someone scrolling right now needs to see it. By morning, the story was everywhere. Billionaire Michael Hargrove under investigation for embezzlement and fraud. The world watched as the empire he'd built on deception crumbled to dust. But what none of the headlines mentioned was the man sitting alone in a glass tower, watching it all burn. Michael leaned back in his chair, a small smile ghosting his lips as sunlight broke through the storm clouds. He whispered to no one, maybe she was right. Maybe love does win. Days bled into weeks, and for the first time in months, Lily could breathe without fear chasing her shadow. She and Ethan rented a small cottage by the edge of the countryside, a place where the nights smelled of pine and the mornings writhed soft, golden, and kind. The news had stopped flashing Michael Hargreaves' name. The world had moved on, as it always did. But not Lily. She still woke some nights with his voice echoing through her dreams. That final line, tell the world I was wrong. She'd whisper back into the dark, you already did. Ethan found work at a local garage under a different name. His hands were always stained with grease now. but there was peace in the way he fixed broken things. Lily spent her mornings writing letters she never sent, to Michael, to herself, to the version of Ethan she lost the night of their wedding. One evening, as they sat outside watching the sunset melt into the horizon, Ethan said quietly, "Sometimes I wonder if he made it." Lily turned to him. "Michael." He nodded, eyes distant. "A man like that doesn't just vanish. He finds a way to start over, maybe even find peace." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "If there's one thing I've learned, it's that even the worst hearts can find redemption. Sometimes they just need someone to believe it's possible." He smiled faintly. "You still believe in people after everything?" Her answer was simple. "I believe in forgiveness." The breeze carried the scent of rain again, soft and familiar. Ethan brushed his thumb across her hand. "I don't deserve you." She looked at him, eyes full of quiet strength. "Then spend your life proving that you do." He nodded, words failing him. That night, as the rain began to fall, Lily stood by the window, watching it trace gentle paths down the glass. Lightning flashed, illuminating a small envelope resting on their porch. Her heart tightened. She opened the door, cautiously, stepping into the cool night air. The envelope bore no name, only a symbol pressed into the wax seal, the same golden crest that had haunted her since her wedding night. Her breath caught. She tore it open. Inside was a simple handwritten note. "For what it's worth, I kept my word. The world knows the truth. Live free, both of you. I'm leaving what's left behind to those I wronged. Tell her I was wrong." It wasn't signed, but she didn't need a name. She knew. Lily pressed the letter to her chest, tears falling silently. "He finally found peace," she whispered. Ethan stepped behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. Maybe we all did. They stood there together in the doorway, the rain washing away years of fear, guilt, and grief, until only warmth remained. For a long while, neither spoke. There was no need. The silence was full, alive, forgiven. Then Ethan whispered, almost to himself, "Do you think we'll ever get our forever back?" Lily smiled faintly through her tears. "No, but maybe we can build a better one." He kissed her forehead gently, holding her as the storm faded into dawn. If this story moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like, not for me, but for the soul who carried this pain and still stayed kind. One click can be your way of saying, "I felt you." As the years passed, the world remembered Michael Hargrove as the billionaire who lost everything to greed. But Lily remembered him as the man who, at the very end, chose to set others free. Sometimes redemption doesn't look like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like a final act of truth. And in a small cottage far from the noise of the world, a woman and the man who once vanished learned that love doesn't need perfection, only courage, patience, and to hearts willing to start again. Years later, the world had changed, but the little cottage by the hills remained the same. Its walls carried laughter now, soft music, and the scent of freshly baked bread. Lily had turned their pain into purpose. She started a small charity in Michael's former company's name, this time for real causes, shelters, children, and broken lives that needed mending. The irony wasn't lost on her. The name that once symbolized greed now carried light. The Hargrove Foundation for Hope. Every letter she signed bore a quiet promise. No more ghosts. Ethan worked beside her, his hands steady, his eyes calmer than before. The man who once hid in shadows had learned to live under sunlight again. But sometimes, in the stillness of evening, Lily would catch him staring toward the horizon, where the sky kissed the earth in shades of fading gold. She knew who he was thinking about, the man who had once been their tormentor, and strangely, their savior too. "Do you ever think he found peace?" she asked one night as they sat by the porch, fireflies lighting the air like scattered stars. Ethan's voice was soft. "Maybe peace isn't something you find. Maybe it's what happens when you stop running from the truth." Lily nodded, eyes glimmering in the firelight. "Then I hope he stopped running." They sat there in silence for a while, the quiet broken only by the rustle of trees and the hum of crickets. A gentle breeze carried the faint chime of the old church bell from the town below, the same one that had once marked their wedding night. The night everything had fallen apart, but now its sound felt different. Not painful, but full, like closure echoing through time. She smiled to herself. You know, she said softly, if that night had gone the way we planned, we wouldn't be here. Ethan chuckled under his breath. Guess forever needed a detour. She leaned against him, her voice warm and steady. And maybe love was never about perfect beginnings. Maybe it's about what survives after the storm. He wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close as the stars unfolded above them like a silent blessing. Somewhere deep inside, Lily felt a quiet peace she hadn't known in years. Forgiveness, not for Michael, not even for Ethan, but for herself. For the girl who once stood in a white dress, crying in the rain, not knowing the storm would one day lead her home. The next morning, she found a letter waiting at their door. The handwriting was unfamiliar this time, elegant, refined. Inside was a single sentence. The world remembers monsters, but I remember mercy. Thank you. From wherever I am, no signature. Just that dot. She smiled through a tear, closing her eyes as the sunlight spilled across the porch. Somewhere, she hoped, a soul had finally found its rest. As the day drew to a close, Lily stood in the garden, barefoot among the flowers. The air was soft, heavy with the scent of earth and promise. Ethan joined her, sliding his hand into hers without a word. And for the first time in years, there were no questions left to ask, no ghosts left to chase, just two hearts that had weathered everything and still found their way back to each other. Because love, she finally understood, isn't about who stays or who leaves. It's about who returns when it matters most. And when the wind swept through the garden, rustling the lilies that bore her name, it almost sounded like the universe whispering, you made it. If you believe that even the broken can heal, comment hope. Let's fill this space with it, because somewhere, someone scrolling through pain tonight might just need to see that word. And if this story touched your heart, tap like, not for me, but for every soul who's ever lost, loved, and still dared to believe again. One click can be your way of saying, I felt you. Moral: sometimes life takes everything away to show us what truly matters. Love isn't about forever, it's about returning, again and again, even when the world tries to pull you apart. And forgiveness, that's the quiet proof that hearts can heal stronger than before.